You're listening to Swift News, your daily news briefing in just 10 minutes. This is episode 36, and it's June 8, 2025. Let's get into today's stories. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Each time we grab a snapshot of information like today, global news from a single date, and we really dig into what's interesting, what matters. Think of it like getting the key takeaways without, drowning in headlines.
Exactly. We're here to cut through that noise, help you see what's actually significant. And for this deep dive, we're zeroing in on June 8th, 2025. It's fascinating what you can learn just by looking at one day across different areas.
Right. So our goal today is to explore the headlines, the key developments from that specific day. You'd be surprised how things link up. Okay, let's dive in then. Global stage, politics and diplomacy. Where do we start? What were the big moves?
Well, a major thing was the BRICS Summit in Brazil wrapping up. India's PM Modi was there, of course.
BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. So what came out of that summit? Any key outcomes?
Yeah, the headlines were new trade and climate agreements between the members. The final statement really emphasized digital transformation, sustainable development, and also global health coordination.
Interesting focus areas.
Yeah.
Why those specific three, do you think?
Well, they really hit on the shared challenges, right? Digital transformation is huge for modernizing, especially reaching rural areas. Sustainable development, that's crucial for balancing growth with, the environment. Climate change affects everyone, and global health coordination. I mean, that's a big lesson from recent years, isn't it? The need to work together.
Makes sense. It's where these big emerging economies can really make a difference together. Okay, let's shift focus. What about the U.S.? Any significant domestic news on June 8th?
Yes. Over in the Senate, a bipartisan bill got through. It was focused on cybersecurity.
Cybersecurity for critical infrastructure.
Exactly. Things like power grids, water systems, hospitals.
And what pushed that forward? Was there a specific trigger?
It came right after some pretty high-profile ransomware attacks hit essential services, pipelines, local government. So this bill mandates better security, more information sharing. It really shows cybersecurity isn't just an IT issue anymore. It's national security.
Definitely. Okay, turning to ongoing conflicts. Any positive signs, maybe regarding Gaza?
There was some news, yeah. The ceasefire there got extended again. Another 48 hours.
Just 48 hours. But what does even a short pause like that achieve?
Critically, it allows more humanitarian aid in. Food, medicine, desperately needed stuff. And, any extension, however brief, it just keeps that possibility of longer-term talks alive. It's fragile, but these pauses matter.
Understood. Let's look at global influence. China's President Xi Jinping was visiting Kenya.
That's right, yeah, he was in Nairobi. The main event was unveiling a pretty substantial new infrastructure and investment package for Kenya.
And the stated goal behind that?
Officially, it's about deepening economic ties with Africa. China's been a major player there for a while, funding big projects, railways, ports. This looks like more of that strategy, boosting connectivity, trade, economic activity in Kenya, and maybe East Africa more broadly.
Okay. And rounding out the political picture, a European angle. Migration.
Yes, Germany's chancellor made a call for a unified European approach to migration policy.
Why specifically now, on June 8th? What was the context?
It seemed timed with the start of summer. Typically, more people attempt Mediterranean crossings in warmer weather, so it was framed as an urgent call for solidarity among EU nations. Migration is still, a really tough politically charged issue for the EU. Finding a common approach is hard.
It really paints a picture of a complex, interconnected world just on the political front.
Absolutely. And none of this happens in isolation, right? It all feeds into the economy.
Good transition. Let's talk economic currents, business, markets. How did the markets react to all this political maneuvering?
Interestingly, global markets were actually pretty steady on the day, quite calm.
Calm, despite everything. How does that connect back?
Well, investors seem to take comfort from the BRICS outcomes. Those trade and climate deals signal cooperation, which markets like, less uncertainty. And the Gaza ceasefire extension, even though short, it eased some immediate geopolitical worries. So those factors seem to have a stabilizing effect that day.
Okay. Any specific economic moves by individual countries?
India's central bank made an interesting announcement. New measures to boost digital payments and financial inclusion, specifically targeting rural areas.
Why is that so important for India?
Well, India has this huge population, right? And many live rurally with limited access to traditional banks. So pushing digital payments isn't just convenience. It helps bring people into the formal economy, access credit, benefits. It's seen as key for growth.
Right. Makes sense. What about energy? OPEC plus head.
Ah, yes. OPEC Plus confirmed their plans. They're sticking to a gradual increase in oil production,
And the reason for that increase?
mostly anticipating rising summer demand, travel season in the Northern Hemisphere. Pretty standard supply adjustment based on forecasts.
Got it. Movement in Asian markets. Japan's yen.
The yen actually saw a bit of a rebound on June 8th, strengthened somewhat.
Any reason given for that?
The Bank of Japan signaled support for the country's export industries. Central bank signals like that can shift currency trader sentiment, leading to moves like we saw.
Okay. And finally, on the economic front, any look towards future trends? Energy, perhaps.
Yeah, the World Bank put out a report that day. It highlighted really rapid growth in renewable energy investment across Africa.
That ties back nicely to what we heard about BRICS and sustainable development, and China's investments, too.
Exactly. It shows that while oil news still dominates headlines day to day, there's this huge momentum building in renewables, especially in emerging economies. Solar, wind, geothermal, it's happening.
Fascinating. That gives us a good feel for the economic pulse. Let's switch to the innovation front. Technology, always moving fast here. Apple in India.
Right, Apple announced a partnership with India's Ministry of Health, actually.
What's the goal there?
They're developing AI-powered health tracking tools. And the key thing is, these are meant for public hospitals across India.
That sounds significant. Why is that kind of partnership notable?
Well, it's a big tech giant applying AI and health tech potentially on a massive scale within a public system. Huge potential impact on diagnostics, monitoring. But it also raises those important questions about, data privacy, access, especially in public health.
Definitely one to watch. What about Google? Project Atlas.
Yeah, Project Atlas was reported to be expanding its work into Latin America.
Remind us what Project Atlas does.
It's Google's initiative to map internet access gaps, find areas with poor or no connection, and then help local partners bridge that divide, deploying infrastructure, finding access solutions.
And why is bridging that digital divide so important in places like Latin America?
Because reliable internet is just fundamental now, isn't it? For education, jobs, services, communication. Where you have big gaps, it just worsens inequality. So mapping and fixing those gaps is crucial for inclusive development.
Makes sense. Big news from the AI world itself. OpenAI.
Yes, OpenAI rolled out the public version of GPT-5 on June 8th.
The next generation. What were the claimed improvements?
They highlighted better reasoning, more creativity in generating text and content, and importantly, much better multilingual support. So working more effectively in languages other than English.
Always pushing the boundaries there. What about space? India's ISRO.
ISRO scheduled a launch for later that month, a significant one.
What kinds of satellite?
Their first dedicated solar observation satellite. India's done lots of Earth observation, missions to the moon, Mars. But this is their first focus purely on studying the sun, a big step in space science for them.
Very cool. And lastly on tech, a practical warning for listeners.
Yeah. Cybersecurity experts put out an alert about a new phishing campaign, widespread.
Who was it targeting?
Specifically online shoppers, and the timing was key right before the big summer sale season kicked off. Criminals always ramp up activity then, using fake deals, fake notifications to trick people. So it's a reminder for everyone. Be careful with emails and links when you're shopping online.
Good advice. Always be vigilant. Okay, from tech warnings to scores. Let's check the scoreboard and spotlight. Sports. Big cricket news for India.
Huge. India beat Australia in the Super 8 stage of the ICC T20 World Cup. That win secured their spot in the semifinals. A massive result.
Fantastic. Tennis, the French Open wrapped up.
Yep, Roland Garros crowned its champions. Carlos Alcaraz took the men's title. That's his second Grand Slam already.
Yeah.
And Iga Swiatek won the women's, her fourth French Open title. Just dominant on clay.
Wow, impressive stuff. Any buzz from the NBA?
The NBA draft was getting a lot of attention, particularly talk about top international prospects signing with big teams. Shows the league's global reach.
More success for India in sports.
Yes, the women's hockey team notched up their second straight win in the FIH Pro League. Good consistency there.
And looking ahead, the Olympics.
Preparations for Paris 2024 were ongoing. A nice milestone on June 8th was the official unveiling of the torch relay route. That always builds excitement.
Definitely starts to feel real then. Okay, let's move from the playing fields to the stage and screen. Arts and trends, entertainment and culture, something for the Swifties.
Oh, yes. Big news. Taylor Swift announced the release date for Reputation, Taylor's version.
Ah, another re-recording. That must have caused quite a stir.
Massive frenzy online, yeah. The anticipation for these is always huge.
K-pop's still going strong.
Absolutely. Blackpink's Lisa was topping global charts with her solo album, and BTS's Jungkook was teasing a new world tour, keeping that global momentum high.
Okay, bit of movie news. Nostalgia, perhaps?
There was news about the planned Back to the Future reboot. They announced the casting for the main roles.
A reboot. How did people react?
Mixed, as you'd expect. Lots of nostalgia, but also curiosity about a new take. Reboots always spark debate.
True. What about the literary world? India's Jaipur Literature Festival.
It was highlighted for featuring a record number of international authors and poets that year, really cementing its place as a major global literary hub.
And something happening in London.
London's West End was hosting a special musical event for Pride Month. Sounded like a great celebration, drawing diverse crowds.
Nice. Okay, shifting focus again, this time to our planet. Environment and science. World Oceans Day activities.
Yes, June 8th is World Oceans Day, but events often run through the week. Reports of cleanup campaigns, marine conservation pledges happening globally, a needed focus.
Any specific environmental initiatives highlighted in India?
There was a study out showing positive results from India's Green Schools initiative.
Green schools, what's improving?
Seems to be boosting environmental awareness and sustainable practices among students, shows the impact of integrating this stuff into education early on.
Good to hear. Space news again, this time NASA.
Artemis.
Yeah, the Artemis III mission, the one aiming for the moon landing, completed a successful lunar lander test.
And that keeps things on schedule. Helps keep that planned 2026 moon landing on track, yes. These tests are absolutely crucial for verifying the tech.
Okay. On the flip side, any concerning weather news?
Yeah. Extreme heat waves were still gripping parts of southern Europe. Persisting heat.
What were officials advising?
The usual but important precautions. Stay hydrated, avoid peak heat, check on vulnerable people. These heat events are becoming a serious, recurring health risk.
Definitely, and a major environmental effort in Kenya.
Kenya launched a huge national reforestation drive. Very ambitious.
What's the target?
Planting 100 million trees by the end of the year. A massive effort to fight deforestation, restore land, and tackle climate change nationally.
Incredible ambition.
Yeah.
Finally, let's end with some individual and community stories. Faces and feats. Events and human stories. An invention from Chennai.
Yes, an engineer in Chennai developed an affordable solar lamp.
And the impact.
Huge. They're being distributed to thousands of rural homes without electricity, providing clean, safe light, reducing the need for dangerous kerosene lamps. Really transformative.
That's fantastic. What about international cooperation?
Canadian firefighters were getting international praise for their work battling wildfires up in Alberta, a reminder that these disasters often need global help.
Right. Recognition for activism.
A young Brazilian activist won a UN award for work protecting biodiversity in the Amazon, inspiring to see young people leading the charge.
Absolutely. Urban innovation from Germany.
Germany's Urban Gardens project was expanding to 50 cities now.
What do these gardens promote?
Green spaces, community gardening, urban farming. It's about biodiversity, air quality, but also community well-being.
Yeah.
Getting people connected to nature and each other.
Lovely idea. And a viral story making waves.
A story about a nurse in Kenya went viral, and it actually inspired a global campaign focused on improving maternal health in rural areas.
Wow. Shows the power of a single story sometimes.
Yeah.
So looking back across everything we've touched on, politics, economics, tech, sports, culture, environment, these human stories,
Yeah.
it's just incredible how much was happening around the world on one single day, June 8th, 2025.
It really is a whirlwind when you lay it all out. But that's the value, isn't it? Seeing it all together. You spot connections, patterns you'd otherwise miss completely if you just read headlines in isolation.
Exactly. You see how, say, a political agreement might steady markets, or how new tech tackles health issues, or how climate pressures spur action from governments and individuals.
It really underscores how interconnected everything is.
Which brings us to a question for you, the listener. How might these events from just one day be shaping your world, maybe in ways you hadn't thought about?
You know, think about how global trade shifts might affect prices locally, or how AI progress changes the tools you use, or even how environmental efforts far away connect to the bigger picture that affects us all.
And maybe the most powerful thought. Consider how those seemingly small local actions, that solar lamp in Chennai, the nurse's viral story, can create ripples that have a genuine global impact.
Yeah, those individual and community efforts can be just as transformative in their own way as the big geopolitical shifts. It's a great reminder that change and progress happen on all scales all the time.